So this is the course information for MA116 College Algebra. This is the online version for summer 2018. Some general information on the course. I'm the instructor, Dr. Sarah Cook. Email is probably the best way for you to contact me. Make sure when you email you do spell my name correctly. I have an H at the end of Sarah, and there is another person on campus named Sarah Cook who does not have the H, so make sure you get my email in correctly. The textbook for the class is College Algebra Enhanced with Graphing Utilities 6th edition. Now the hardcover of the text is optional because you are required to have MyLab Math access, and that contains an e-text, which is the exact same thing as the hardcover. So if you want a hardcover textbook, that's fine, but you don't need to have one. In addition to the MyLab Math access, you also need to have a graphing calculator, either a TI-83 or TI-84. Those come in several different options. There's Plus, there's C versions. Any of those are going to be fine, but these do need to be actual calculators and not apps on your phone for taking exams. To satisfy university math requirements, this course cannot be taken as pass-fail. This is a general education course in the Natural Sciences and Mathematics division area, and the SLO, or Student Learning Objective, is for quantitative and scientific reasoning and literacy. So tied with that, our course objectives are broken down into kind of 4 general categories: solving, modeling, graphing, and analyzing. And I'll discuss here later in this PowerPoint presentation, but we have some specific assessment assignments that are geared toward those course objectives. All right, practice problems. You must do math in order to learn math. This is worth 30% of your overall grade. It's going to be broken into 2 different categories. The majority of those practice problems will come from the MyLab Math. In fact, that's going to be 75% of this 30%, or 22.5% of your overall grade. So it is very important to make sure that you're doing those. We may have some paper pencil assignments for regular homework. I'm not expecting that. We will definitely have some paper pencil assessment assignments, but there could possibly be other assignments as well, although I'm not really expecting that. I do have a file for you on D2L with a list of textbook problems. This is the same list that we give our face-to-face courses, so I wanted to make sure that you had that list as well. These problems can be found on the e-text or, of course, in the hardcover textbook if you happen to have one. But the problems that I'm going to assign to you on the MyLab Math are very, very similar to these. So if you're doing fine on the MyLab Math, you don't necessarily have to look at these textbook problems, but they are there if you want some extra practice. Now we're going to go through some specific information on the MyLab Math problems. This is an online homework system. Students have to register on this system, and this must be completed by Sunday, June 3rd. Students who are not registered by June 3rd will be dropped from the course at 12 p.m. noon on Monday, June 4th, no exceptions. There is a link to, it's called Pearson's MyLab and Mastering is the name of the link on D2L on our page, and I have instructions on how you're supposed to get the registration done if you can't follow through the systematic guidelines when you go through this process. The registration is with your access code. So you should have either purchased an access code or you can buy one online as you're registering. There is an option for a temporary access if you don't have funds available. I believe it's 14 days, but you have to make sure you convert to the full version before your temporary access expires, or else all of the work that you've done is going to be lost, and I have no control over that. The MyLab problems are very similar to those textbook list of problems. So again, if you can just do these problems, you should be fine. But the textbook list is additional problems if you want more to look at. The nice thing about this online homework system is that you can retry problems. It will let you retry, I believe, 3 times, and if you still don't have it correct, it will generate a new problem for you. So you can still keep working on it and get your points, but it will generate a new problem if you have too many misses on the same problem. Make sure you watch directions. With any online system, it's kind of picky on how it wants some of its answers. If you think you've done it correctly and it tells you that your answer is wrong, the first thing you should do is make sure that you've put it in the right format. Typically, when it wants a specific format, underneath the box where you put your answer, it will say how it wants you to give the answer. So make sure you check on that. I have a suggested schedule for the summer, and that has listed out specific sections and corresponding sets of homework from the MyLab math problems for you to do. I highly recommend that you stick to this schedule. You don't want to get behind. The summer class moves very quickly and we cover a lot of information. If anything, you want to try to work ahead. And I do have these MyLab problems open for the entire semester, so you can start working on them early. I will also give you until Friday, July 20th, which is technically the day after our class ends, but I will give you that extra day to work on and get these problems completed. That will shut down at 11:59 p.m. and it's automatic, so as soon as the time hits that, it is going to shut off. So make sure you have all of your MyLab math problems completed before that time. Okay, these problems are worth 75% of your practice problems grade, so that equates to being 22.5% of your overall grade. All right, our assessment assignments. So these are tied to our general education objectives. There are 8 of these throughout the term. The due dates are listed again on that schedule that I've posted on D2L. These are hard due dates. You have to get these in by the time that is specified, and I of course will be sending you email announcements about these as well. These are paper pencil assignments. They are not on MyLab math. So these are ones that I will post on D2L for you to do, and then you need to submit your answers to D2L in the assessments assignments area. So this is something that you're going to need to be able to scan, or I believe the D2L system will accept pictures of your assessment assignments. If you do a picture, you've got to make sure that I can read it and that you have everything on the picture. Scanning and sending a PDF is much better, but if you can't and need to send a picture, we should be able to make that work. These assessment assignments are to assess what you know. So these assignments are to be done on your own, not with a tutor. If you ask me by email if you need some assistance, I might be able to give you some guidelines, but I certainly can't work through these problems for you. These problems account for 25% of your practice problems grade, which equates to 7.5% of your overall grade. So these are very important. There's not nearly as many assessment problems as there are MyLab math problems. So that means an assessment problem is actually worth more than any one MyLab math problem toward your overall grade. We will have 3-hour exams, and these combine for 50% of your overall grade, so 16.67% for each of the 3 exams. The campus exam testing sessions will be at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. in Morgan 251 on June 11th, June 27th, and July 16th. Your exams have to be proctored. If you cannot attend these sessions, then you need to find a proctor to monitor the exam for you. There is application information and a form on D2L and it lists specifically what types of person can be accepted as proctored. That application, which needs to be completed by the proctor, so it is your responsibility to get this information to who you want to proctor, that has to be completed by Monday, June 4th, which is a week before our first exam. If the proctor has any fees associated with their proctoring duties, those are the responsibility of the student to pay those. So on the hour exams, there will be no notes, no textbook, of course no computer, no cell phone, no other resources allowed. Just you. It is a paper pencil test and what you're going to write on your paper. You can use the TI 83 or 84 plus calculator, but again, this has to be a real calculator, not an app on a phone or a device, but an actual calculator. There are no test retakes for these exams, and I cannot give extra time unless you have this documented through the Center of Diversity and Inclusion, and they will contact me with the information. So the final exam, this is worth 20% of the overall grade for the course. It is a 2-hour final. It will cover the entire term that we've had. Again, no notes, textbooks, computer, etc. on this. You can use the calculator again, but not a calculator app. The on-campus testing, again, I will do that at 1 p.m. or 7 p.m. in Morgan 251 on Thursday, July 19th is the date of our final exam. As part of the general education requirements, in order to receive a C or better in this class, you must pass the final. Passing is considered to be a D or better on the final. So, in other words, if you want to get an A, B, or a C in this class, don't fail the final exam. You also, of course, have to have the points required from the distribution that I'm going to show you here in just a minute. But one criteria for getting an A, B, or a C in this class is that you must pass the final. Don't fail the final exam. There will be plenty of review information. I even have video examples for you to help you prepare for the final, but make sure you take that final exam seriously. So my grading scale is a standard 90, 80, 70, 60% grading scale for ABCD. And again, just as a refresher, the practice problems are a total of 30% of your grade. That's broken up into 2 parts. The MyLab problems, which are online, and the assessment problems, which are the paper pencils. There will be 3-hour exams, which account for a total of 50% of your overall grade. And the final exam is 20% of your overall grade. So here's some information on the general setup of this course. On D2L, for each section, I'm going to have the following: a PowerPoint that demonstrates the key ideas with voiceover explanation, a summary sheet of the key ideas and any formulas that you may need for the section, and probably what's most important is I'll also have a file with example problems. And these example problems will have links to video solutions that I have created. And just to make sure that you understand what this looks like, so the link is this icon that's like an old-time video recorder. So if for this example that's just shown up here, if you wanted to see the solution to these problems, you would click on this link. Okay, now I go through these solutions step by step. You may have to download the file in order for these video links to be live. That kind of depends on the type of browser that you are using. But the solutions go step by step. If you feel like you know how to do the problem and you just want to check your answer, feel free to just forward until the end and see if you have the correct answer. If you need the step by step, please listen, work through the problems as you are listening to the video so that you understand and retain how to do those. So take advantage of these resources. I know that the Pearson website for the MyLab Math will also have some manufacturer resources available for you, but I really think that if you go through and follow and watch my PowerPoint, look through the summary sheet, go through those example problems, and watch links in order to make sure you're doing the problems correctly for those video solutions, I think that's your best way of being successful in this class, and I want you to be successful in this class. Some final information for this course: you have to dedicate time to it. We cover the same amount of information in this summer term as is covered in a 15-week semester, so you have to dedicate that same amount of time, and that turns out to be between 16 to 23 hours per week. Some students may require more. And you've also got to make sure you pace yourself. You can't decide that you're going to do 60 hours in 1 week so that you can take off another week. You really have to stay at this course on a regular pace for the entire summer term. Have a positive attitude. You can do this. I believe you can do this, particularly if you take advantage of those resources that I talked about with the PowerPoints, the summary sheets, and the example problems with the video solution links. Contact me if you need help. Email is definitely the best way to contact me. The My Lab problems do also have a link where if you're stuck on a specific problem, you can click on Ask My Instructor, and then that lets me know what problem you specifically are working on, but it will send that to me as an email. Your grades are based only on your performance. The math that you do in this class is how you are graded. I don't give extra credit for individual students. If I give any extra credit, it would be at the end of the term, and it would probably be something toward your practice problem score. But in general, there's no extra credit for individuals, and there's no guarantee that I'll give any extra credit at all. Some terms I do, some terms I do not. And then finally, please make sure you see the university syllabus editions that are on D2L, and of course also our regular course syllabus is on D2L in the syllabus area.